For the last several years, I've tried to abide by David Sparks', you might also know him as Max Sparky, rule that I don't make major system changes during the year. I save those to be done over the holiday break when things are a little bit slower and I can actually spend the time making the change and getting it done right and not having to try to do that while I'm doing all of my other work. This year, I'm planning to make a pretty major change, which is that I'm going to go all in with task management in Obsidian. I've used Obsidian a few times for tasks, but it's never really felt like it worked for me. I've been playing around with the tasks plugin and the different queries and those sorts of things, and I think I've come to the setup and the design that I think will actually work best for me. This is the first of several videos where I'm going to walk through both some of the things that I've done wrong in my current vault that I want to fix as I implement tasks in this new vault. And I'm going to also talk to you about how you could stay in the same vault and not do that. I've talked in a previous video about the reasons why you might want to make a full-scale change of your vault. It's not a decision to be made lightly, but if you want to check that video out, I'll link a card here and I'll put it in the description below. But I've decided I'm going to make the change because I just have a lot of old weird setups that other people came up with and they weren't really my setup. In this new vault, I really want to set up things the way I work and then a way that works for my brain. So that's going to be the focus of this new vault, and I'm going to start with the task management features. So today, I want to dive into one of the things that really caught me up as I've used tasks and played around with them in the past in Obsidian, which is the global task filter. I'm going to explain to you what it is, what it does, why you want to figure out how you want to use it right from the beginning, and what happens if you ever do want to change your mind and go in a different direction and don't want to change vaults completely. So let's dive in. So we're here in my new vault that I'm going to be using for testing. And as I mentioned, my goal is to release this vault with all of the notes and all of the things already set up the way I'm going to set up my vault. So if you do want to start with the vault that I plan to be using by the beginning of 2026, you'll have that available. Although based on the video schedule, it might not come out till end of Q1 of 2026, but you get the impression. So we're going to come here to the settings option. And I'm going to go down to community plugins if that isn't already selected. I'm going to turn it on because this is a brand new vault. And then I'm going to browse so that I can find the tasks plugin. Now, you could search for tasks here, but tasks is typically one of the most popular plugins. As of this recording, it has nearly 3 million downloads. So I'm just going to go ahead and click it and I'm going to select install. It'll take just a moment here and then we're going to enable that. So we're just going to really focus on two main things in today's video, and that is the global filter. So I'm going to leave task emoji format set up as it is, and then I'm going to go ahead and put in the global filter. So this is an item that will be added to everything that you want to be treated as a task, every checkbox item you want to be treated as a task in your Obsidian vault. So I'm just going to use the very non-creative hashtag task. For right now, I'm going to leave this option that appeared when I typed that in. I'm going to leave this option to remove the global filter from the description. I'm going to leave this off. We will come back and look at this in a little while. I'm not going to change anything on the global query, nothing on the preset. We're not going to worry about the statuses. We're going to do whole videos on all of these things as we get further down the road with this process. We're not going to do anything with those. I'm not going to change the dates either. We are going to come back and spend some time on these in future videos. And I'm not going to change any of these items. I do want to make sure that this auto suggest task content option is on. And I'll show you what happens when we turn that off as part of the demonstration in just a little while. So with all of those settings set, the tasks plugin is ready to use the way I am planning to use it. And so we're going to create a little note here, and I will see you back here right after I create this. So as you can see, now that I've got this note created with some information in it, I mentioned that I'll make this vault, I aim to make this vault available when I'm done. There's lots of other information that I'm writing as I'm going that you can see under different areas, but this will also have all my demos in it. So the first item that we're going to create here, as the note is telling us to do, is a simple checklist item that does not have the task hashtag. So I'm going to create that checklist item just by hitting a dash, a space, a left bracket, and another space. And then I can either go ahead and type the right bracket, or you can use the arrow key to move on beyond that, and then just hit space. It always sounds like such a large number of characters when I say it. You could set it up quite easily as a keyboard shortcut or a text expansion snippet if you wanted to. I just type it so fast at this point that I don't really think about it. So I'm going to add shorts. I'm going to go ahead and hit enter. I'll add a couple more t-shirts. Feels like that should have a hyphen in it. Jeans and shoes. So just a few items on a packing list, but you can see that there are some simple checklist items there. So next, we're going to create a task by adding the task hashtag manually. So I'm going to begin by creating my checkbox just like I did before, and then I'm going to add the hashtag task, and I'm going to press the space. And notice when I did that, something new happened. That auto suggester turned on. So now I can type my task in here, pack for the New York trip. And I'm going to give this a due date. So if I just start typing D, then due date will come up, and I can just hit enter, and then it will auto suggest again different dates and things that I might want to do. I'm going to say I'm going to do that tomorrow as I'm recording this. And I could also give it things like start dates, schedule dates. I could change the priority. I could make it a recurring task. I could add a created date, which I am going to want on all my tasks. But for right now, we'll just leave this one without it. That's fine. So when you're done, you can just hit escape, or you can click off of it and you've got another task here. When I hit return, again, if I want this next item to be a task, I have to start typing that task hashtag again. Now notice when I do that, when I hit the hashtag this time, because task is already a hashtag in my vault, that hashtag is already there for me, and I can go ahead and enter it in. So we'll type record the tasks global task filter video, and we'll have that one due on, we'll say Monday, even though we're doing it today. All right, so there we go. We've got a couple of tasks done, and just because I like some space in there, we will come down here and look at task 3. The other way to create a task in your vault, other than just adding the hashtag with your global filter query to the task manually, is to use the tasks modal from the command palette. So if I do Command P, you can see that tasks, create or edit task is already an option here, but let's just look at all the options that come with the tasks plugin. So and you can always do that by just typing in the name of the plugin, and that will always tell you what the items are that are available for that plugin. So if with the tasks plugin, we can toggle a task done, we can create or edit a task, and we can add all query file defaults properties. Again, we're going to talk about that one in a much later video, but for today, we're just going to use this create or edit task option. So this time I want to add a couple of tasks, and the thing about this option is I don't have to add that hashtag. Using this modal will actually add the hashtag for me. So read chapters 1 through 5 of The Soul of Wealth. This is an actual thing I have to do, and this is due on November 10th. All right, so we're going to go ahead and put that in there. And notice that I've got lots of options here that I can do. I can set my priority again. If I wanted this to be a recurring task, I could add that here. I just used natural language here, and it already filled in the date for me. If I wanted to, I could also use the date picker, so that's an option that you have here. One thing I do wish, this is on my wish list, and it's for both Obsidian properties as well as for plugin properties is that if I have my calendar set to default to Monday, I wish it would pick that property up from the calendar plugin. Just on my wish list. I'm going to only allow future dates, so I can't enter tasks in the past. That's probably healthy for me. This before this and after this, I will just give you a note of caution. If you're entering your very first task, you'll see a little note here that says, hey, you got to have at least one other task in here until these will show up. But because we do have a couple of other tasks already in the vault, they'll show up. This is to use for dependencies. So let's say that I didn't want to read chapters 1 through 5 until I'd read the introduction. Then I'd set this one to be an after, and I would only want it to be after the read introduction task. If it's before, then I could say, well, I don't want to read chapters 6 through 10 until I've done this. So you can use this for some level of task management dependencies. I may do a video on this in the future. I'm not completely sure because it's not a function I use that often, but we'll see. I might use it in the future. We'll see. And then I can give it a status. And right now we only have 4 statuses, and the most obvious one is to do. I actually haven't started this, so I wouldn't want to mark it as in progress. But we'll do a whole other video on statuses, both how you can create them and then how you can use some of the predefined ones that are part of some of our themes. And then I've noted that I do want the created date to be added to all of my tasks. So I'm going to go over here and click today and click apply. So you can see there that hashtag task got added automatically, and I can see all of my task details here. So then let's go ahead and create a tasks query, our first one, and let's see what happens to see how this task global hashtag task works. So I'm going to create the world's simplest task query, which is just 3 backticks, and that's the key up to the left of the number 1 key on your keyboard if you're brand new to the tasks plugin. And I'm just going to type tasks, and then I'm just going to click out of that, and notice that it found 3 tasks. Now, it did not find these checklist items because these are not tasks. These are just checklist items. Since they don't have that global query item in them, they don't show up. Let's go ahead and look at a couple of the settings in the tasks plugin just to start to understand a little bit more about how this plugin works. So I'm going to go back to settings, and I'm going to turn on this option to remove the global filter from the description here in our tasks community plugin. So I'm going to turn this on, and I'm going to come back over here, and it doesn't look like anything happened. And that is because we've gotten lucky so far, but it says changing any settings requires a restart of Obsidian. So I'm going to restart my vault, and I'm going to meet you back here in a minute. All right, so now notice that in this query, this hashtag does not show up. That is what happens when we go back to the task plugin when you turn on remove global filter from description. Now, this is a very simple query. Our tasks are on the same page that they were created on, which can be really useful, and I'll show you lots of options where that'll come in as we work on this later together. But this is actually a really good thing to remember, that if I want them to appear a little bit prettier on my screen, I have lots of customization options, and it starts with that option to remove the global filter from the description. Okay. In a future video where we talk about all kinds of different queries, I will talk more about how we can pretty these up even more so that they just look really nice when they're in your queries. So back to this hashtag task, to this global filter. First of all, we now know that when we have the global filter turned on, that anything that has the global filter will show up in a tasks query. Anything that does not have the global filter is not going to be treated as a task. That's great. What happens if you change the global task query? Hashtag and the emoji for the green check mark, because that'll be cool, right? So we will come back in here and notice that now nothing shows up in our tasks query. But if I come down here and I add a task, with that hashtag. Fix my task settings. There we go. That will now show up. I show you this option for two reasons. Number one, it's to remind you, once you set that global task query, you don't want to change it. So if you're really very choosy and very specific about what you want that to be, you need to figure that out up front. I also show this to you for the reason that if you ever do decide, or you've been like me using Obsidian Tasks for a long time and you're like, I kind of want a completely new system, but you don't want to change vaults like I'm planning to do, you could go in and change that global task filter to something different and then only give that new filter to tasks you want found in your new system. Nothing is lost that way. Everything is there, although nothing is lost if you're moving to a new vault either. You just might have to go find it in an old vault, but you don't have to go through all of the hassle and trouble of moving to a new vault. So just a couple of options to show you what you can do. I am going to go back in here, and just for the sake of demonstration, I'm going to change this back to task. And now you'll notice that these three come back and this little guy down here does not show up at all. I'm going to go ahead and just leave this here because, although I don't think we're going to use that hashtag, there are things we can do with other hashtags and tasks using data view, which is an option that we may explore in a future video as well. So I hope this has been helpful to you. If you've ever thought about the tasks plugin and looked at the options and went, I have no idea what the global tasks query is. Or you're like, why are these tasks showing up and these aren't? I hope that this has been helpful to you, and I hope that you will come back and join me as I walk through the rest of the system in future videos of how I am taking my Obsidian Vault into 2026. If you've got any questions, please post those in the comments below. I would love to interact with you. I'll also put links in the description below so that you can sign up for a free 30-minute call with me if you're interested in Obsidian coaching, or you can sign up for my newsletter or join my community. Thanks for tuning in. Talk to you next time.